Hello, everybody. My name is Natalie Wilkinson. I am a registered dietitian in Ontario, and I see patients regularly with celiac disease. That's part of the reason why I was invited today to speak to you about anemia, a celiac disease red flag. Before we get started, though, there was a disclaimer that I'm going to read straight off the page because I do not want to make any mistakes. The information the Canadian Celiac Association provides does not replace your relationship with your doctor. The information is for your general use, so be sure to talk to a qualified healthcare professional before making any medical decisions or if you have any questions about your health. We, the CCA, do our best to make sure that the information we provide is accurate and reliable, but we cannot guarantee that it is error-free or complete. The CCA is not responsible for the quality of the information or services provided during my session today, nor do they endorse any specific service. All right, so with that out of the way, let's talk about anemia, a celiac disease red flag. This is my very first time doing a Facebook Live discussion, so I might struggle a little bit with the live feedback, but I'll do my best to address any comments or questions as they arise. To start, though, let's just clarify what anemia is. So it's usually characterized by reduced hemoglobin or circulating red blood cells in the body, and it's often the result of some kind of underlying illness or condition. So with celiac disease, if you're not following a strict gluten-free diet, there is damage done to the lining of the small intestine, and that interferes with the absorption of many nutrients, including iron, folate, and vitamin B12. And you can develop anemia when you have a deficiency in any one of these three nutrients. So most commonly we see iron deficiency anemia, and because we're limited to a 10-minute segment, I think that's what this talk is supposed to last, about 10 minutes, I'm going to focus on iron and ways to get it through food. Now, I kind of liked what Sarah did when she was asking people to post on the website where they're from. We are broadcasting, I think, live, so anyone around the world could be listening right now. If you want to just send me a quick message and let me know where you're listening from, that would be great. But let's talk about food sources of iron. We have heme iron that is found in animal-based products. So your meat, poultry, fish, seafood, eggs, and this type of iron is actually easily absorbed. We also have non-heme iron that is found in plant-based foods, and unfortunately this type of iron is not easily absorbed. So if you've been diagnosed with celiac disease and you've been told that you have iron deficiency anemia, most likely you will be told to take some kind of iron supplement and include iron-rich foods in the diet. So these heme iron foods are easily absorbed, but unfortunately they're found in animal-based products. So we have to understand what a reasonable amount is. The Canadian Food Guide will recommend about 2 servings for adults per day of animal-based proteins. So 1 serving is about 2 eggs, or 2.5 ounces of meat, poultry, fish, seafood. So in a day, 2 eggs and 2.5 ounces of meat. That 2.5 ounces looks about the size of a deck of cards, so the same size, same thickness as a deck of cards, or no eggs and about 5 ounces of meat, poultry, fish, seafood. So it's actually not a lot, and you're not likely to meet your iron needs with that amount of heme iron alone. So we need to investigate these non-heme iron sources of food. The pulses are excellent sources. So beans, lentils, peas, so not the green peas, but more like a split pea or a chickpea. Some vegetables are really good sources. Spinach, asparagus, beets, prunes also are a good source of iron. I have provided the Celiac Association, the Canadian Celiac Association, with a few documents that are available for download. So if you wanted, during the presentation today, I think they're available on Facebook and also the website, www.celiac.ca. And in one of the handouts, it talks about ways of increasing your iron intake, and the other is basically a list of the common foods some common foods that contain iron, and it gives you the exact amount of iron in a specific serving size. So please consult those documents if you want some additional information. With the non-heme iron, unfortunately, there are some things that affect the absorption of the non-heme iron, and then there are other ways that you can help the body absorb it better. So let's just talk a little bit about that. To help with the absorption of non-heme iron foods, it's recommended that you pair the food with some vitamin C and actually heme iron foods. So a good example is something like a chili, right? You've got the beans that are a source of non-heme iron, and you're pairing that with some meat, which is heme iron. So that heme iron is actually going to help with the absorption of the non-heme iron. Chili is also tomato-based, so there's usually some kind of canned tomato or fresh tomato, maybe even some lime juice used in the recipe. These are all foods that contain vitamin C, so that vitamin C is also going to help with the absorption of non-heme iron. If you were to make a spinach salad, for example, spinach, a great source of non-heme iron. If you add orange slices or any kind of citrus, if your dressing contains lemon juice, the vitamin C is going to help with the absorption of that non-heme iron. And then if you chop your salad off with some leftover meat, maybe from yesterday's supper, some pork, chicken, maybe even a hard-boiled egg or some fish, that heme iron is also going to help with the absorption of the non-heme iron found in the spinach. So the things that might interfere with the absorption of non-heme iron is coffee and tea. It's actually recommended that you not drink coffee or tea when you're having a meal or a snack that contains non-heme iron, because it will interfere with the absorption of non-heme iron. Calcium can also interfere with the absorption of iron, so you wouldn't want to overdo your calcium intake at meal and snack times. So lots of foods naturally contain calcium. I wouldn't worry about that. Spinach, for example, I'm listing as an excellent source of iron. It's also an excellent source of calcium. I would be more concerned with large amounts of dairy, for example, having a glass of milk with your meal, adding to that chili that I just described, a massive dollop of sour cream, a lot of cheese, the salad that I just described, adding cottage cheese to it. Excess amounts of calcium or large amounts of calcium might interfere with the absorption of that non-heme iron. So just be wary of that. You wouldn't want to take a calcium supplement, for example, when you're sitting down to have a meal or snack, especially if during that meal or snack you're actively trying to absorb as much iron as you possibly can from the foods that you've chosen to eat. Nobody's posting any questions, so that's basically all I had prepared for the talk today. I was expecting that there'd be some live comments or questions that I'd be able to respond to. I guess in closing, I do want to acknowledge SHAR as the sponsor for today's event and encourage you to make a donation to the Canadian Celiac Association. It's not just a support for individuals with celiac disease. Throughout my career as a dietitian, I have regularly consulted the Canadian Celiac Association. If there is something that I am unsure of or unaware of, I contact them without hesitation. I don't Google anything when it comes to celiac disease. I go straight to the Canadian Celiac Association, and they are wonderful. I am a bit old-fashioned. I do not like to read information online, Facebook pages, Facebook groups. It's not really my thing. I like to talk to people, and there are wonderful staff here who are able to answer your inquiries and navigate you or help you navigate the wealth of information that they possess here at the Canadian Celiac Association. So please donate and support the work that they do, because it's quite wonderful. All right, well, I will be back at 2 p.m. to talk about calcium and a little bit about bone health. So please tune in to that conversation. And yeah, good luck everybody, and thank you for taking the time to listen.